What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Hawks Nest, where we will talk about this week's matchup versus the 6-3 Rutgers Scarlet Knights. This game will take place at Kinnick this Saturday at 3:30 Eastern on the Big Ten Network. Iowa is a 1.5 point favorite, and the over/under is 28.5, again setting the bar for the lowest over/under in FBS history. So, a little recap for the Northwestern game. It was a very defensive game. Iowa fed LaShawn Williams the ball all game and slowly drained the clock. Iowa's only touchdown was set up by a special teams blocked punt. Gave them a short field. I think it was 25 yards. And Deacon Hill was the most effective on the last drive of the game, tallying 31 of his measly 65 yards passing. And that set up a Drew Sanders 52-yard game-winning field goal. So, some questions heading into the Rutgers game. One, why was Kirk Ferentz so emotional at the beginning of the game? He was crying, shaking all the coaches' hands. I know he said that he would like to continue coaching, but you don't really see that kind of behavior from a coach that is going to be there for the long term. Two, does Kirk only care about winning anymore? Yes, Brian is gone. Sure, that takes the weight off the offensive, having to put up 25 points per game. But his comments after the game kind of is leading everyone in that direction. He said the offense showed growth compared to their last game. And while, yes, they gained 20 more yards than they did against Minnesota, I wouldn't necessarily count that as growth, leading to my thought process that winning cures everything, I guess. Um, my second question is, what did Joey Lavas do to upset the coaching staff so much? Um, True freshman Marco Lanes was listed as QB2. Uh, so as a true freshman, you know he's probably not going to see much field time, no matter how bad Deacon Hill struggles or has been struggling. Um, and with Joey actually starting the bowl game and being semi-decent, it's either one, he has to be injured, which I haven't seen anything stating that, or two, he's done something to drop on the depth chart. Um, so, and I haven't seen anything about that, but I'm leaning more towards that if they're going to put a true freshman as number two QB. And if that's the case, expect him to be one of the first names to announce that he's going to be entering the portal in the upcoming weeks. So, looking at this Rutgers game, some matchups to watch. It's going to be Iowa's front seven versus the Rutgers run game. Rutgers as a team is the 34th best rushing team in the nation, and they would be the top 10 team in the Big Ten. As a team, they have almost 1,700 yards on the ground and 19 touchdowns. If you watched them play last week, their running game literally kept them in the game against Ohio State for a majority of it, and Ohio State couldn't do anything to stop it. So the second matchup is going to be Iowa's O-line versus the rush. Greg Schiano leads a team that loves to put pressure on the quarterback. Their defense sends pressure about 35% of the time. They've amassed 18 sacks on the season. And with Iowa's offensive line being one of their weakest parts of the whole team, I expect Hill to be under pressure almost the entire game and to have what this would be 4 or 5 weeks in a row of him barely scratching 100 yards through the air, if that. So some Rutgers players to know. The first one is going to be Gavin Wimsatt. He's the junior QB for Rutgers. He's arguably the best quarterback Rutgers has had since the last time Schiano was the head coach and they were ranked number one in the nation. He was an Elite 11 participant in 2021. For those of you who don't know, that's for the top prep high school quarterbacks. So to be invited to that is pretty good. He is your prototypical dual threat quarterback. On the season, he has almost 1,300 yards through the air and 8 touchdowns, but he also has over 400 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. And I highlight him because I expect Rutgers' run game to tire Iowa out with the offense barely being able to uh, do anything. I expect him and my next player to set the tone of the game. The second player is Kyle Monagane. He's the junior running back for Rutgers. He's on a 3-game streak of 20 plus carries. Actually, they've been 24 carries every single game. Ohio State could not do anything to slow this guy down last week. He had 24 carries for 159 yards. He is the sole reason why Rutgers was in this game for so long before Ohio State finally figured it out. He leads Rutgers this year with 168 carries for 903 yards and 7 touchdowns. And my final player is Mohamed Torre. He is a senior linebacker. He is the engine that makes Rutgers defense go. Rutgers improved defense go, I should say. He is everywhere on the field. He will rush. He will drop back in coverage, and he also calls some of the plays sometimes. So on this season, he has 58 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 interception. So that just goes back to what I was saying, how he is literally the do-it-all guy for Rutgers defense. And so it is prediction time. And this one, I didn't want to do it, but I had to go Rutgers 17, Iowa 13. I think Rutgers' run game pounds the ball the entire game just because their receivers, I think, will be outmanned by Cooper DeJean and Harris. But Rutgers' run game sets the tone of the game and exhausts Iowa's defense, much like Penn State did against Iowa earlier on in the season. So, like I said, Rutgers 17, Iowa 13. Unfortunately, that'll drop Iowa to 3 losses, all in the Big Ten. So it'll tighten up that Big Ten West window again, and they'll have to win out if they want any chance to go to Indianapolis. But with that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Make sure you follow the CFB Nation for all your college football news, as well as FFB Nation for all your fantasy football news. And as always, go Hawks.